Oi, and welcome back to Pickitupgaming. Here is my review for Resident Evil 8 Village. I've kept most of the footage to the early parts of the game, so it shouldn't spoil anything. Hope you enjoy it. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Let's do it! 3 years on from events of Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, Ethan and Mia have been relocated to unknown parts of Europe where they have a new daughter called Rose. Now someone we've known from previous games comes back into Ethan's life and messes it up royally, but still what he holds dear, his newborn daughter. Now Ethan is knocked unconscious, and when he wakes up he's in a world full of vampires, witches and werewolves and other nasty creatures that you can associate with Resident Evil. Now he knows his daughter is somewhere in this nasty world, and he does what any other good father would do, and he goes out and looks for his daughter. Now he once again take control of Ethan Winters, playing in the first person perspective as you did in the previous title, which is Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. And like in other RE games, you go from location to location, all varying looks and feel, looking for your daughter, finding guns, treasures and other parts that form keys which you will need to progress to different areas. Yeah, well, it is typical Resident Evil game, stuff that you love and you know. Now, although there's still plenty of creepy moments and jump scares and well placed cutscenes, action and atmosphere, it does seem like they have toned down the horror aspects of the game and gone for a more kind of action approach. Maybe to help people get in, because I've heard people say that Resident Evil Biohazard is a bit too scary, a bit off-putting because of the horror aspects of it, which is a shame because I enjoyed it very much. But doesn't mean it's lacking this game, just means it's more action focused, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But for me personally, I prefer the horror side of Resident Evil. Now personally, I get vibes that it's trying to recreate Resident Evil 4, which had a perfect balance between horror and action. And I know it was very different from the series at the time. Went on to be one of the best games in this series in my opinion, and gained lots of fanfare, lots of new fans, and went on to become one of the greatest games of the PS2 generation, if not all time. So I can understand why they're trying to get back to that route, get back to that formula. But it's still a long way off, in my opinion, to find the right balance between horror and action to appease both sets of fans. Now story-wise, it's pretty captive, some great moments, typical Resident Evil writing, so you can expect some cheese, some bit iffy dialogue, and some things where you think, hold on, what? No, I can't, how does that happen? But otherwise, like I said, it's very captive, it's engaging from start to finish. Although maybe the last 5-10% of it was a bit iffy for me, but otherwise fantastic story. But even with the iffy script, the voice actors are fantastic, bringing the characters alive, and it's as good as any other Resident Evil game. So on that front, can't complain. Great performance from the voice actors. As well as that, it has some quite fantastic set piece moments when you encounter, different creatures, different things, when you go to different places. It all adds to the atmosphere, and that's something this game has tons of. Despite being more action focused, it does have a ton of atmosphere where it does add to the tension, the horror vibes, and that's where it kind of improves, I think. But like I said before, I prefer it as more horror aspect, when it kept to the more horror roots that the previous game had introduced. Now, also being a more action focused game rather than action horror or purely horror, the puzzle aspect as well, which is synonymous, as I would say, synonymous with Resident Evil games. Kind of a bit too easy, a bit too simple to solve, and a bit too easy to get through. In this game, I didn't think I died much. I don't think I had much trouble solving puzzles. So people who play Resident Evil 4, who are veterans of the game, who love it, who play every single game on all difficulties and unlock everything, they might storm through this game fairly easy. They might complete it within a couple of hours, because honestly it's not that hard, puzzle wise or difficulty wise. But I still think they'll get a kick out of it. I do still think it's aimed towards new players to get more players in. So in terms of controls, it's very similar to Resident Evil 7. You've played it before. If you're not, it's a kind of a brief synopsis of it. It's it's quite slow sometimes, but you can run, but it is quite slow. You're more kind of tanky. You haven't really got a dodge button, but you have got a block button, all kind of stuff like that. In terms of shooting, I only had issues with shoot arms sometimes. Occasionally, it might be a bit slow to react when you try and reload, or you try and aim down your sight. might take a few seconds for it to register from what you press to the game. But other than that, shooting feels fine, movement feels fine. It feels easy to look around, easy to get out of situations. It's near the point when you get stuck on walls, or you feel frustrated, or you feel stuck. So in terms of controls, fairly easy to get used to. And if you're a veteran of the game, you already know the stuff. It's more for people who haven't played it before. So easy controls, sorted. Alright, so sounds. Now, once again, in terms of Resident Evil, I think they have some of the best sounds going. The voice acting is great, the foliage is great, the sound effects fits in. It makes it nice, intense. You get the horror aspects come through sometimes when you get to certain areas. And when the music plays, when you're running away or you got a big old beast to fight, it does make you feel a bit on edge, which is when the game shines through. I think in all Resident Evil games so far, I've really enjoyed the sound. That always seem to shine through and always seem to be the best part of the game. But one thing I do have to, it's a small gripe, and I know it's a small gripe, and it's just me. I've said from the start in the story, and I've been told that Ethan and Mia have gone to Europe, and they're in a European village. I've encountered so many American accents in this game, which, I said it's a small gripe, but it does throw you off thinking, hold on a second, we're in Europe, it's very European looking, it's got the old buildings, the old castles, the old woods. I don't think, once in the game I heard one, Polish, Russian, Spanish, or even somewhere in that area, English, Scottish, Welsh, whatever. None of the accents come through. It's purely American, which, like I said, is a very small thing. But for me personally, it did take me out of the atmosphere, the environment. If not for a few seconds, it wasn't that long, but it did I noticed it quite a bit. I don't know why they've done that, why I've chose to done that. And like I said, it's probably something that I've only noticed that only bothers me. But it does feel a bit strange. Other than that, sounds perfect. Alright, so in terms of price and what's it on, what consoles is it on. Now, Resident Evil 8 is pretty much on all consoles. So what you've seen here is a PlayStation 4, so it looks great, looks fine, all groovy. But it's also out on PlayStation 5, Xbox, the new Xbox, if you can get one, if you get either of them. And obviously other consoles, I said like PlayStation 4, Xbox One, I think it's on Google's thing, whatever that is, Stadia. No one uses it, but it's on that as well. So in terms of prices, I've got to say, and I've got to be honest, I feel like it's a bit steep. Now I paid 60 quid, which is about $70 or whatever your equivalent is in your country. So I get that new games will be quite expensive in terms of having to promote, engine to use, advertising, all the stuff that goes into gaming, all the hours put into it. Games will increase, and I am understanding of that. But I do think for the price I paid for the game, £60, for what I got out of it in terms of how long it lasted, the replay value, and obviously how much I enjoyed it, I do think it's a bit steep for £60. Now, unless you're a die-hard Resident Evil fan, unless you love Resident Evil, I'll wait off a bit for a few months. Wait until it drops in price, maybe to about £40 or $40 or whatever your equivalent is. Then pick it up. It's still a fantastic game, don't get me wrong, I loved it and I enjoyed it. But for the price they're asking for, it's a bit too much. So my final thoughts on Resident Evil 8 Village. Now, I enjoyed large portions of this game. I'd say about 90% of this game I loved. From the characters, to creatures, to the monsters you fight, to the storyline. Most of the time it was gripping and compelling, and when the horror shines through, it packs a punch. But unfortunately, it's a bit too much focus on the action. I get where they're coming from. They're trying to get a Resident Evil 4 vibe, but unfortunately for me, it didn't get the balance right. Now, in terms of the score, I would have given an 8 out of 10, but a few things brought it down for me. The price is a bit too steep. Like I said, the small growth being the accents being where they are, I didn't hear many European accents, which brought it down a little bit for me. And the fact they focused too much on action rather than give us the horror game that I personally wanted. Right, so my final score is going to be a 7 out of 10. I'll say if you're a huge fan, buy it. If you're not, wait until it's a bit cheaper. Right, anyway guys, it's my first review, so hopefully you enjoyed it. Hope I can help you out. Hopefully I'll see you next time for my next review. So stay safe, stay strong. See ya.